It means that there apparently has to be a moving from living up here, living in your imagination of yourself, into the direct experience of the body. And then eventually what will begin to be seen is there is no body. So what's actually happening now in your body? What are the sensations? So if you shut your eyes for a moment, you have this image that you're maybe this triangle or this body sitting here with shoulders and legs, and like I'm sitting like a triangle, my legs cross-legged, that's why I say a triangle, but if you're not sitting like that. So just put your attention into your body. And where is the boundary between you and what you're sitting on? Where is the boundary between your skin and the outside world? And where is this consciousness that's experiencing it all? Notice that the consciousness is the experience. And this is why who you truly are is endless, it's infinite, it's not a size, because consciousness is the experience. It's the wall behind me, it's the clock, it's my face, it's in your room, the wall behind you in your room, it's your computer, it's the feelings in your body, it's the breeze that's happening outside, the greenness of the trees, it's everything. And that's who you are, the consciousness that's experiencing right now. And in that appears an image of someone that arrived in this room, but that image of that person isn't you. While you're identified with it, you're locked inside your head and you're a limitation to what you believe yourself to be. And most people have negative self-images. Not all people, like it's different for everybody, but a lot of people have negative images of themselves. They feel themselves to be not good enough in relationship to the world, to be not rich enough, to be not good looking enough, to be not successful enough, to have made wrong choices. And then they sort of carry that image of themselves around in every experience. And then life begins to take on board what they believe themselves to be. So if you have low self-esteem and you feel like you're always making mistakes, then it tends to be that's what life looks like, that your life is a mistake. Or if you always feel like you're never at home, or that you're always in the wrong place, or you can't make a choice, then you tend not to commit to anything, and then you tend to have no choices because you haven't committed to anything. There's nothing to choose between because you have nothing. So then it enhances that complexity with choice, and that difficulty with choice, and that feeling of being stuck, a feeling like you've got no choice, or the feeling that choices are too complex. You can create all sorts of images of yourself. And then with this image of self, so with this repetition of the story of yourself, you teach other people who you are, and then also you begin to take that on board in your body. So if you've been told your whole life that you are a really unattractive person, you begin to take that on board inside your chakras. So maybe in your heart area that hurts you, or in your sexuality, so in your sacral chakra, and that chakra begins to get uncomfortable, because as you keep repeating that story that I'm not enough, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not beautiful enough, your body hurts with that story. Those chakras can go tight with that story. So a lot of people don't believe in chakras, but for an example, we have it in our language. You know, when you have heartache, so when you've broken up with someone, we call it heartache. We call it a broken heart. And when you're afraid, we say in English, like, you shit yourself. Or we have, like, I feel sick to my belly. So we do know that we feel these feelings in the body. And when you keep telling yourself that you're a failure, or that you've done something wrong, or that you're not good enough, then you feel that in that chakra, and that chakra begins to assume that position out of habit. So it begins to not be so much about the story that you're telling yourself in your mind every day about who you are. Your chakra, over years and years of investing in that story, just assumes that position. So assumes that energetic discomfort. When I was in Australia, I remember living in Australia, listening to the radio one day, that the most used drug was antidepressants. I thought that it was going to be the pill. And the predominant reason that they prescribed antidepressants was for backache. And the antidepressants, so the lack of stress, then relieved the back. So you can see that whatever we're telling ourselves about who we are, whatever we're thinking, is manifesting in the body. And I can tell you why you get backache from anxiety and stress. Stress tends to be in your lower belly, so it tends to be in your lower belly and in your solar plexus. And what happens there, when it begins to constrict there, it actually affects your organs, it affects your digestion. And normally when people have stress, they also get irritable bowel syndrome, and they also have like bad diarrhea. That's not all the time the reason why people get IBS, but that's maybe one of the reasons. And when you get this irritable bowel syndrome, what it causes in your stomach area is a swelling of all the organs, so everything's uncomfortable. And as it begins to swell, it also begins to stop deep breathing. So then it begins to go higher in the chakras. So you can't get your breath down. So often when people feel stressed, they have shortness of breath. So then it begins to affect the breathing, and then that becomes a habit, like the shortness of breath. And shortness of breath creates panic as well. So then it sends your shoulders in, so your heart in, like you feel like something's going to attack you. So you begin to curl in and take shorter breaths. If this is happening to you day in, day out for 10, 20 years, you can imagine like doing this, like really short breathing for that period of time, why your back is going to get sore. You're going to hunch up, you're going to be trying to protect your chest, your breath isn't going to be going down. If your breath's going down, your body will all be open. So there's like infinite reasons, or not infinite, but many, many, many reasons as to why your whole body begins to get tight and get pain and begin to get ill. So a lot of people now have a lot of illnesses which they say are psychosomatic. So they think if I just meditate and get rid and change my thinking, it will change it. But because of the repetition of your thinking, you've trained your chakras to respond in a certain way. So it's not just about thinking, your body is responding to the world in a particular way. And this is uncomfortable. So what begins to happen is you begin to live more and more in your imagination. You cut off from your body, from what you're actually feeling. So then when you get into non-duality and you hear this consciousness teaching, it's actually a bit of relief to a lot of people, because they don't want to feel the body, because the body's painful. So when you begin to do consciousness exercises, it's actually deeply relaxing for the body. And I think it's really good to do it. I'm not disagreeing with it or saying that you shouldn't do that. I think it's deeply relaxing to disidentify with the body and to see that the story of who you believe yourself to be isn't true. And then it begins to relax these stories. But it's not more than likely going to clear up the issue in the body. Like when something in life disturbs you, your body will get tense and it will pull you back into a story. So it'll be like a struggle, your battle between trying to stay present or trying to stay in consciousness, and then a story like overtaking you. And there isn't really someone that can stay in consciousness, but we'll speak about that later. So there comes a point where you have to actually address the body, address the sensations in the body, and look and see what it is that your body is wanting, like what it is it's feeling, what it is it's wanting, what it is it's telling you, like the habits that have got stuck in the body. And there comes a point where you have to tolerate the pain of the chakras to an extent. So you have to go into the body, and if your heart is aching, like telling you repetitively that you're not good enough, and it's just in aching, you're not lovable, or if you feel a lot of anxiety, you have to accept that anxiety and that discomfort of that chakra. And the more you actually give it tension, the more it will begin to change. It will shift and heal. It's actually through ignoring it that they've become more tense and more uncomfortable. It's through unconscious programming that it's happened. So you just give it space to be there. So your heart is aching, so you feel rejected or unloved, and you just give it space to be there. And at that stage, you maybe think that you're this consciousness that's behind watching all that, that you aren't the body, so that that isn't really you. But actually, it's not really that. Who you truly are is everything that's happening, including the sensations in the body. And the body is what interprets the world. So we have these like 6 senses which interpret the world. We have thinking, we have feeling, we have smelling, we have sight, we have touch, we have feeling. I think I've said that one already. And all of these senses are experiencing, interpreting the world. And you can never experience the world without the body. That the body is like a microphone or like a camera. It's registering this world. And then there is this other element of consciousness. And this consciousness is who you truly are, but the consciousness isn't separate from everything that's experienced. But it's found in the experience. So it's found in the sensation of the hand on the sofa, on the bum, on the seat, the feet walking up the steps. It's found here, in this, right now, in what's happening, not out of what's happening. Most of the time, people are trying to get out of what's happening, avoiding what's happening. And there is no getting out of what's happening. What's happening is what's happening. And it's in that that you disappear. There isn't really somebody that is conscious of life. So in the beginning, when you get into this subject, you try to put your awareness into consciousness. So you put your personal awareness into consciousness, and then you try to stay in that. But awareness is a functioning of the body, and it's not the awareness that wakes up. It's that there is a shift to that consciousness that's already here. So it's not about you becoming conscious, but that's an exercise which can be really helpful for the person to help it settle down. But it's even that person that believes it's got free will and believes it's doing it, it's not actually doing that anyway. Like, you don't actually have free will, you just think you have free will. You think you have choice, you think you have the ability to move your attention. And it seems like that, but it's only a thought that describes what free will and choice is. It's not the actuality of this world. The actuality in the direct experience is it's simply happening. It's what is speaking, it's what is acting. It's life moving the attention. It's not actually a you. A you is a thought. A you is something that's not actually here. It's an imagination that is based in time. So this me, this you, is only in past and future. It's not actually in the moment. It never was alive in this moment. So it's really quite magical. So even in all of that conversation, when I'm talking about doership, it seems like I'm giving you a prescription, but there cannot be a prescription, because who does? It's life that does everything. It's life that's waking you up. It's life that's listening now. It's life that's speaking now. Or consciousness, whatever you want to call it, or presence, or no thing, everything.